What can you take away from the game at New York coming into this one, or is it a completely different situation on grass in your home stadium?
I'd like to think that, we can consistently think about our opponent when we've played them before, and maybe some of the tendencies that they have. If you look at these two teams, and I'm only repeating myself, they tend to have a philosophy from the first team down, and I think this team do it better than any other, which is to press, to repress, and to play with a sort of energy and fearless nature that you don't often see. They leave defenders like for like at the back. Mind you, saying that, we've done that quite a bit in the last couple of games as well. But they do play in a fearless fashion, and it gets some rewards at both levels. So, we'll be very thoughtful about that. I thought we did a good job in New York. The big difference, I believe, will be the surface, the size of it, the nature of the field. Plastic does make it quicker and more difficult. I think there'll be more control for both sides, and it should make for a very good game.
You mentioned that you guys have kind of given up a little bit at the back in the last few games. What has kind of been your focus to fix some of that stuff, or to work on it at the very least?
Well, you have to remember, we've spoken an awful lot about not being effective enough at home, not scoring enough, not creating enough, teams sitting in, how are we going to break them down? These are all of the questions that, I've been trying to answer as the team. The weekend, and we can only go by the weekend because it's at the back end of two productive away games, we created a lot of chances, we scored 3 goals, and we looked incredibly bright going forward. And there was a different dimension to the group, a different mindset. However, when you force the issue in that fashion, and we've been trying to tip the scales towards a more creative game, we've forgotten, we've been less focused, we're more stretched out, and that's understandable because we're trying to create space to score goals and be positive. And it means that as soon as you lose the ball, there's a reaction, there's a change of mindset, there's a change of intensity. All of the things that go with being a good defending side have suddenly got to come back into that natural mindset. And I've no doubt that this group have got all of the qualities to have the right balance. However, the pendulum did go too far one way. I said it at the weekend. We did leave ourselves exposed. There have been some clips that we've looked at, and they're just the distances between the groups are too big. We're all about what's happening there, regaining, keeping the pressure on, which is wonderful. But there's a time and a place, and I think we just got to get the balance right again. And hopefully a couple of things we've done in the last day or two, not a lot of time, but maybe even something to take into the game mentally rather than practically that we've been able to work on.
You've been without Ken for a couple of these games where you've been a little uncharacteristically poor defensively, I guess. Do you expect to have him back anytime soon? Do you know what kind of his status is? Is it going to be a long-term thing?
No, he's not far away.
Okay.
He won't be available for tomorrow, but he's not far away. The weekend would certainly be the first time I think about maybe including him again. Listen, he's a good defender, but we've got others. I don't think it's the case of having bad defenders, whoever they are. I think it's a case of really being more demanding as part of that defensive unit. I think they've allowed other players, be it the wing backs who are putting a lot of effort into the game going forward, to just get away with not recovering well enough and quick enough. I think the midfield have got stretched out a little bit, and I'm being tactical now, but the gaps have grown. And those guys have certainly got to be more demanding and more assertive. But we, no doubt, have the right players, the right quality. I don't have any issues with the individuals we have. We've got to just find the happy medium now.
I know it was frustrating to concede 3 against Ottawa. Can you take anything from the fact that you only gave up 4 shots in the second half, or is it just kind of a secondary statistic?
Yeah, it is really. I think we finished the game stronger. They looked out on their feet towards the end, and they put a lot into it. we know what that's like when you've got a lot of travel, and to score the third goal and then concede again was really the most disappointing aspect of all of that. But if you look at the goals, management of the last 5 minutes of the first half was poor, and they take advantage. Terrific free kick. The goal that Francois scores is good enough to win any game. I mean, I look back on it, it's a sliced delivery out. We don't defend it well, but nevertheless, I mean, it's an absolutely wonderful strike. And in saying that, they'll look at Will Fall's goal as well. And it's a very, very good strike from distance. Look, I like to think that over the course of a season, you don't fall foul of quality goals like that too often. Nevertheless, our job's not to allow it to happen, and for that opportunity to be there, it's to be tighter, it's to be frugal, it's to limit opportunities on goal. They had 15 efforts at goal. Well, as a group, we've prided ourselves in keeping our goal very much intact, but also, limiting other teams to the sights they get of it. And that's really the mindset we've got to get back to.
If you stick with your kind of 2-on, 2-off pattern, it would be Connor tomorrow night. He hasn't lost a game yet while starting in goal this year for you guys.
Now you're tempted to fight.
Knock on wood.
Now you're tempted to fight.
Is that just kind of a small sample size type deal, or is it something where you've seen that, Connor's maybe been a little bit more effective than Matt? What's kind of your take on that goalkeeper battle right now?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think they've both been in very good form. Look, Matt, stops us from going behind against Hartford with a penalty save. He makes a terrific 1v1 save in the first half against Ottawa when Sam goes through. I've not got any problems with either of my goalkeepers. As I've said, my biggest challenge is keeping them both active and stimulated. Matt has conceded 5 goals in the last 2 games, but when I look at the goals, I don't think that there's anything that we could point at and say that was down to bad goalkeeping or poor technique. I'm extremely happy with both of them. Connor will get a couple of games again now, and who knows, at some point it may be that nature takes its course and one of them is unable to fulfil their rotation, but at the moment, there's no game that one of them suits and the other one doesn't. They're both performing very well in my eyes, and I'm happy for them to keep competing and keep each other on their toes.
With 3 games this week, are you focusing at all on managing minutes and rotation, or are you just focusing on the next game?
Well, you've seen before that there will be 1 or 2 bodies that might change out in this game to keep some competition and to also keep maybe 1 or 2 pairs of fresh legs in certain spots. I always think the third game in the week is the one that you look at most of all. If guys have played in the first 2, especially tough games, I'm expecting a tough game tomorrow. You wouldn't expect any less. So therefore it'll be demanding. We're getting into that period of time where the temperature's pumped up a bit. Guys are finding it more and more difficult to recover, and there's dehydration involved and so on. So I think the end of the week presents probably a bigger challenge than it does tomorrow night. But I always look at what's happened in the game, what players are in a good place, have we got any injuries, are players struggling with knocks, and then of course, what do we tactically need to do? Carolina are in a good run themselves, tough at home, they've got quite a unique setup there, wonderful field, but a big field. So it presents different problems. Let's get tomorrow night out of the way. I've got a good group, but I've got a small group. I've only got 17 outfield players that are fit at the moment, so therefore there's not a huge amount of room for manoeuvre. But what I know is whoever comes in is of a very high calibre.
Thank you.
Thank you.